Good morning. I'm David. Welcome to Awesome Story Time every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to share wonderful picture books. So let's get into it. This week we have 3 great books, and I'm going to start with one of my favorites. This was a storybook that I got to read when I was growing up. So it's called a classic because when you're my age, everything is a classic. This is called The Story of Ferdinand. It's by Munro Leaf with drawings by Robert Lawson. Great illustrator. Did plenty of books you're probably familiar with. So let's read the story of Ferdinand. All right. I'm going to hold this up so that you can see all the pictures. Okay. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. That's the kind of thing bulls do. But not Ferdinand. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a tree. A cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Look at those corks growing on that tree. Who knew? Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with all the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome. And because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick out the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them like an audition. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting. And instead of sitting on the nice, cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Oh my God. Well, if you were to sit on a bumblebee, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow! Did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. Can't blame him for that. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight that day in a cart. And all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. Remember what Ferdinand liked to smell? They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the bandoleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. And then came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Kind of a dandy. Then came the bull. And you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. I love this picture. He's just poking his little head out there. Me? They called him Ferdinand the Fierce. And all the bandoleros were afraid of him. And the picadores were afraid of him. And the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. Just look at that crowd. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely lady's hair. And he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the bandoleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad, he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. All that work and education for nothing. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. Don't you just love that story? I think it is so, so awesome. Hey, I want to thank everyone for watching today. We have 2 more stories, but before we get into those, I want to thank some special people that I know that are watching right now. So I would like to say hello to Keegan and Sophia and to Reese and Mia and to Jasmine and Wesley and Brooklyn. Thanks a bunch for watching. All right. Now, this is something special. This is a book called A Day So Gray. It is by Marie Lamba. She happens to be one of our friends and neighbors here in Doylestown. So she lives close by, and she's a wonderful author. And this book was illustrated by Alea Marley. It's a great book. Let's read this. Look, 2 friends. This day is so gray. No, it isn't. It's deep, soft brown and shining blue and silver splashes on bright yellow. This field is blah, blah, brown. No, it isn't. It's dots of orange and vines of black with sticks of licorice red and poofs of tan. Well, this snow is boring white. No, it isn't. Uh-oh. It's lines of purple and squiggles of gray. It's gems of twinkling silver with stomps of green. She's right. Bad luck. That cat is black. She's not all black. Smiling cat. That's awesome. She's also soft pads of pink and specks of white, and her eyes glowing yellow-green. Any of you have a cat? Cats are great. Plus, she's warm, and that's a good thing. So is this fire. The fire is orange. I don't like orange. Some people are hard to please. It isn't just orange. It's flashes of red and yellow, and sizzling black logs, and gray bits of smoke. Well, it is cozy. Yes. Yes, it is. And so is the blue, green, red blanket, and so is the black, pink, white cat, and so is the brown, gray, white cocoa. And so is the purple and tangerine sunset. Oh, how beautiful. And we are cozy too on this day that was so much more than gray. Wow. This is a great book for any day. I want to show you this picture of the cat having cocoa. Isn't that cool? With marshmallows. That's a bonus. I think this is a great book for any day, but especially if it's one of those gray days. You remember, there's a lot more than gray out there in the world. Okay. I want to say a thank you. And that is to our friends at the Doylestown and Lahaska bookshops. You can order any of these books that I'm reading through them on their website. All right, so let's support them. Important part of our community. Now, this is one of those books that they have let me borrow, and it is hilarious. I love this book. Gosh. Click, clack, moo. Cows that type. Cows that type. This is by Doreen Cronin with pictures by Betsy Lewin. You'll see what I mean. You'll love it. Click, clack, moo. Cows that type. You ever seen an old-fashioned typewriter? Usually we have computers these days, but this is the way people wrote things, sort of like a word processor back in the day. I know. Ask your parents or grandparents. They may have one.